So yesterday we added integers. Today we're going to subtract. We've already got up there the add rules from yesterday. The add rules for yesterday are still going to be necessary to do our subtracting today for a couple reasons. Adding and subtracting have what relationship to each other?
They're opposites.
They're opposites. So one can kind of bring the other one into play very frequently. And we saw that yesterday. Our adding rules, when the numbers were the same type, we added them. But when they were different types, we subtracted them. So the rules can be followed and guaranteed to get you the answers right every time. We also bumped into a little discussion yesterday about the number line, which we could use. If we're adding positives on the number line, which way was that taking us? Adding positive. Somebody? Where does adding positives take us? To the right. Where did subtracting or adding negatives then send us? To the left. So if you like to use the number line as a tool, you can. A lot of schools are big on the number lines. I'm like in between on the number lines. If we want to use the number line for subtracting, we could. It's just everything's going to go opposite, because adding and subtracting are opposites. So if adding a positive was going this way, where would subtracting a positive have to go? It would have to go that way. If adding a negative went this way, subtracting a negative goes that way. So that's a way you could do it. That's not my biggest fan way to do it, but that is going to be fine. If I wanted to take on this problem with -2, subtracting +6, I could go to -2 on the number line. And where did we just say subtracting a positive would hit us? It would head us left. So where would that land us if we went? Where would we fall?
-8.
We'd fall on -8. If the number line is useful to you, use it. It's a 100% fine way to do it. I'm not criticizing that at all. That's just not my style. And I've said that a few times lately. Math's no longer really about me telling you this is the way to do it. You got to find a way to make it work. You can kind of have your own style. If the number line is your style, use it. I have no problem with that. Question about that way to do it? Another way you could do it, and this is not my style, but there are some schools that are really big on this, is go through and change all of the signs in all of these problems. Subtracting and adding are opposites. Positives and negatives are opposites. If you step on a scene and you do the opposite twice, where are you really? You're at the same thing. So if I wanted to show you that, I don't really want to make this walk, but I could walk back there to the light switch. And if I wanted to show you opposite, I would turn the lights off. And if I want to do a second opposite, I'd turn the lights on. And I'd walk back up here, and really, what did I accomplish? Nothing. Okay? Or you could say to your teacher, I did not do my homework. What does that mean happened? You did your homework. Those two negatives like undid each other in a sense. So there are some schools where what they're going to teach you to do is change every single subtract to an add. And then the following sign, change every positive to a negative and every negative to a positive. And then it's just like doing set QQ again. And I don't have a problem with that. If you like that idea and you have the patience to do that, to switch, 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 both of those inner signs, that's going to be fine. And then every subtract problem really becomes an add problem. If you want to do that, you're welcome to it. That's not going to be the way I'm going to do it, but you're welcome to that. I'm going to go with a set of 3 rules again. So one of the rules is positive minus positive. Positive plus positive was like kindergarten stuff. Okay? Positive minus positive is a little bit of kindergarten-y stuff, but a little bit of maybe 3rd, 4th grade stuff. What's up with positives minus positives? You've done those this year and lots of other years.
Can you take positive numbers and subtract them?
You do, but there's like a little bit of a wiggle on the results on these.
If the smaller number minuses it into a bigger number, it has to be a negative.
It is?
If it's a bigger into a smaller number.
That's correct. So I'm going to say positive minus positive gets to sometimes be positive, but only if the first number is bigger. We're always going to subtract on those. Positives minus positives, we're going to subtract them. But the rule is we'll get a positive result if the first number is bigger. So let's scope through these problems. Can somebody find me a positive minus positive problem? Which number has a positive minus positive? 6. So positive minus positive, this is either going to be 4 or it's going to be negative 4. It depends on who's bigger. Since the first number was bigger, is that a 4 or a negative 4? That is a 4. Are there any other positive minus positive problems up here? 11. So this one, neither number is bigger. So 2 minus 2, what's up with that? That's 0. That's a little bit like kindergarten-y-ish on that one. Some of these are kindergarten-y-ish, some of them aren't. There's another positive minus positive hiding up here. 3. Okay, 2 minus 6 is different than 6 minus 2. 6 minus 2 was kindergarten-y, first grade-ish to get us to 4. 2 minus 6, that's like third or fourth grade. What do you think about that one? It's negative 4. It's still in the 4 family. 2 subtracting 6 or 6 subtracting 2, no matter what, the answer is going to be in the 4 family. It's just if the bigger number's first, we'll go positive. If the littler number's first, we're going to go negative on that. Question about the positive minus positive trio. If that seemed confusing to you, here's a different way we could have done this. We could have made this add a negative. And then do what you did yesterday. Adding rules only. When they're different types, it depends on who's bigger, we subtract. That's still there. I'll change this back to where we were. If we want to use the number line, start at the first number, positive 2. And then where did subtracting positive send us? Which way? Left. So if we went left, we'd still land on negative 4. So if you like the number line, if you like the double switch, whatever, that all works. Question about those? Second rule, I'm going to say a negative minus a positive is going to be a bigger negative. And bigger is a deceptive word to use when you're talking about negatives, because as the negative numbers get bigger, like in size, actually the values are really truly becoming smaller. Like negative 20 is worse than negative 10. Okay, but what I'm saying here is we're going to get something that's bigger in appearance and size. A negative minus a positive, things are going farther in the hole. So let's scope some of those out. You see up here any negatives minus positives? There's a couple. 8 is. 8 has a negative number, subtracting a positive number. So we're going to go deeper into the negative hole and get a negative that's bigger in size than either of them. In other words, add them together and it's going to be negative 8. Okay? In the real world, this would be a situation like the temperature is already negative 6, and then it goes down 2 more degrees. You're farther in the hole. Or this might be like you owed your friend $6 already, and then you borrowed $2 more. Now you owe them 8. Or your football team just lost 6 yards, and then they lost another 2 yards. Well, we lost 8 yards now. If we have negatives minus positives, you're going farther into the negative hole, and things are getting bigger in the negative hole where you're stuck. There's more out there. Anybody see another negative minus a positive? 4 is not. 4 has a positive first. That's a positive minus a negative. That's going to be different. 9. 9 has a negative minus a positive. So we're going deeper into that negative hole. Negative, how deep are we buried now? Negative 4 is correct. The other one was the one I already did. I was like, I know there's one more. That's because we did it. For number one, we had a negative minus a positive. We already did that and went deeper into the hole to land in negative 8. Question about that ruling. Then the other half follow this rule. I saved it for last, but maybe I should have done it first, because this is the most common thing you're going to encounter. If you have 2 minuses in a row in the middle, just make that into a plus. And in your mind, we're flashed back to yesterday. So here's 2 minuses in a row. Just make that into a plus. The 6 is now positive, subtracting is dead, we're in a world of adding. We're now adding a positive 6 with a negative 2. These minuses make a plus. It's an adding rule now, and it's a positive 6. Here it is again, that's a plus, that's a plus, that's a plus, that's a plus. I would ask you not to write in your books and do that. On your test paper, you could feel free to absolutely do that, but just turn our minuses into a plus, and then we have to obey yesterday's rules. So here we're adding what's now a positive with what's always been a negative. How's that one going to go if we add when they're the different types? So we add those just like we did in set QQ.
Bigger negative.
No. We're thinking this no longer exists. We're done thinking about these for the rest of this area. We're exclusively thinking about these. When we go minus minus make a plus, subtracting is dead, adding is alive.
4.
This would be a 4. So what's going on here, they're different types. So here's our rule when they're different types, is it depends on who's bigger, which is the 6, who's positive now, and we subtract those, we get 4. Somebody on this one, add?
Just 8.
It's just 8. That took us back to like first grade add. You know, it's a positive plus a positive, first grade add, it's 8. This one? Also 8. We also got flashed back to 2 positives, first grade add kind of stuff, 6 and 2, still makes 8. This is not first grade add, because one of the numbers is negative, and as a first grader, you never heard of negative numbers. So if negative 6 adds what's now a positive 2, we need to use yesterday's rules about when they're different.
Negative 4.
That is negative 4. This one
0.
is a 0. This one is a 4. Question about any of that? Tomorrow quiz. I'll ask you to tell me the 3 adding rules, same as today, that's 3 points. I'll ask for the 3 new subtracting rules, and then we're up to 6 points. I'll probably ask integers to be a bonus question again, so if you know that, good for you. And it cancels out if you got something wrong. And then I'll do a mix of problems. I think it's mostly subtract problems tomorrow at the bottom, but maybe still an add sneaks in there, I don't know. Even if an add isn't in there on purpose, why do you still need to super know the add rules when you do subtract?
For the last roll.
For that last roll. When the minus minus makes a plus, that relies on our knowledge of the add rules. That's why it was super important for us to do that. So no matter what way you do this, if you're using the number line, you've got some adding and subtracting going on both days. If you're doing the rules, you got some adding and subtracting both days. If you like the thing where we did the double switch through the middle, you still have to know the adding rules from yesterday. And the minus minus makes plus. That is really the one where I am doing that double switch in the middle. But some schools, some teachers will teach you make the double switches the whole way through everybody. I'm not opposed to that. I just don't like to do it. I don't feel like if somebody gives me 2 minus 2, I don't need to overthink that. Like 2 minus 2 is 0. Like let's not make more out of this than it is. Like positives minus positives, you've been doing those for a long time. You don't necessarily need like a new way to rethink how to do 6 minus 2. Like, where was that one? Here we go. 6 minus 2 has been 4 since you were like this big. So you don't have to overanalyze that. Question about these? Let's cut the record. I don't necessarily think we need to record while we try to make laps around the room a bunch of times, but we'll shut that down for a day because that's basically